Continuing from the previous video, we're going to talk more about specific methods of negotiation and influence. Welcome to Life Study Library. This is your host, Lye Yosh. This channel talks about these interesting and life-changing information on science and psychology that you can use immediately to change and improve your lives. I'll be supporting my claims by implementing various scientific and scholarly articles and studies. So if you're interested in knowing how to scientifically influence and negotiate with your audience, please enjoy the video and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share Life Study Library. According to a report done by the Program on Negotiation from Harvard Law School, there's a negotiation manual used by the FBI to peacefully solve and apprehend hostage criminals. The manual contains this 5-step model you can use to influence and change people's behavior in almost any situation. They are 1. Active listening, making the audience think that you're actively listening to what they have to say. 2. Empathy, understanding the other person's perspective or thought process. 3. Rapport, kinda similar to mutual trust, understanding that both you and the other person understands each other's point of view. 4. Influence, once you've earned your audience's trust, you're less likely to be rejected when you propose logical steps to solve their issues. And 5. You've successfully changed your audience's behavior, and negotiation is completed. One thing to be careful is that many people make the mistake of starting from step 4, influence, perhaps due to the assumption that the act of influence only requires a one-sided presentation from you to your audience, rather than it being a game of pass between two individuals. While a good reminder for many, other more experienced people might find that a little underwhelming, so I'll talk deeply about the most important step in commanding influence, which is active listening. The essence of active listening contains 4 basic pillars. A. You must never meddle with the person who's talking, and should never rebuttal or give any judgments. Failing to do this will automatically make the other person think that you're implying, "Sure, whatever, are you done? Here's what I have to say." Active listening requires you to actively listen. So even if thoughts pop up, you must hold them inside you. If you don't want to spend your brain resources on remembering those rebuttals, you can just jot them down on paper, like a few worded notes of the rebuttal you want to make once it's your turn to talk. Next pillar of active listening is, while listening, you should reply with, "Yes, right, I see." These indications that you're listening to them and deciphering their points. This connects to the point of view showing the other person you're acknowledging what they have to say, and are at least giving them the impression that you're trying to understand their points. C. Concisely summarize the other person's claim. With the obvious advice to not sarcastically sum up their claims on a caricature or mock them in any way, try to genuinely comprehend their main message. And D. Ask some simple, short questions and show the audience that you're listening to them. Be careful not to ask a yes or no question. The reason I'll discuss later. Examples include saying things like, "Could you briefly explain this concept?" Or, "With this point, what did you mean by such and such?" Even if it's a really simple question, the act shows that you're at least paying attention. And the techniques on how you can smoothly proceed active listening is the following. You should ask open-ended questions. By avoiding a yes or no question, you can make the audience know that you've paid attention to their talk, and you can also get some additional information that the speaker accidentally left out by asking open-ended questions. Examples include, "What's your ideal result for this topic?" Or, "What are some possible unexpectancies you can think of?" You should also focus on creating pauses in between talks. This works too when you want to add an oomph to your speech by intentionally adding in-between pauses. But it's also very effective when you're talking with a person who's already fired up with emotion. I guess this is more towards negotiating with like a hostage criminal rather than your potential customers, but no matter how excited or enthusiastic they are, it's very hard for people to continuously talk and talk and talk all the way till the end. So you should watch out for these unintentional pauses and slither yourself into the space in order to turn the table around to you talking or you asking questions. While doing all this, make sure to sprinkle some short responses like "uh-huh" or "gotcha" to let them know that you're listening. But I'm repeating myself, so next up. This one is also very important. You can effectively build rapport with the other person by mimicking or repeating a portion of what they said. Often termed as mirroring in psychology, humans feel a great amount of togetherness when they felt they've been heard or understood. So much so that you can even say mutual understanding is one of the most significant reasons why we communicate. Places like Duke University have conducted a study in 2015 which claims that excellent communicators often mimic their audiences. And it doesn't necessarily have to be word for word, you just need to repeat the important keywords they speak. For example, when the customer says, "This seems too expensive compared to other brands," you can reply with, "So pricing is important for you." Then follow with, "Well, our brand has a competitive advantage of such and such." Or during a more social, casual interaction, when the other person says, "Today couldn't have ended sooner, it was awful," you can say, "It was awful? How so?" Mirroring what the other person said is an excellent tactic to build rapport and gain their trust that you are on their side, which is vital when trying to influence them to do what you want. And finally, you can add on to this mirroring by helping your audience verbalize their emotion. After listening to the customer having trouble setting up a furniture, you can say, "I understand. It's really frustrating that some furniture companies expect you to build them without sufficient instructions. It makes me want to throw it off a cliff with a dynamite and blow it up." It's pretty similar to step C of the basic pillars of active listening I've talked before, concisely summarize the other person's claim. In this case, their emotion. Again, verbalizing the customer's emotions for them will let them realize that you understand what they're going through, which builds trust and rapport, and will increase the chance of them listening to your next offer. On the other hand, avoid saying things like, "You shouldn't say that," or "Don't think that way," because the point is to let them know that you understand how they feel. So attempting to change their emotion is a straight up no-no. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that and understood that these negotiation techniques used by the FBI can be applied perfectly in the business field, particularly during negotiations and other marketing or sales environments. And of course, these techniques, particularly rapport, can be used beyond the business world and are also highly effective when making deep human connections. Have you ever experienced a time when you and this other person, despite only knowing each other for a short time, have you felt, "Wow, I just met this person, but I'm sharing my deepest, most private, darkest secret about myself"? Or maybe you did a favor for that person, which you weren't thinking of doing at all up until you did. You might be in face with a super communicator. Someone who possesses an ability to have powerful, meaningful, and convincing conversations with others. Not exactly a person with a scammer-like superficial charisma, but a person whom you want to talk to when you had the worst day of your life. The unreal stories of people who turned the head of a juror completely set on the decision that the suspect is guilty. Or those who convinced hardcore anti-vaccine advocate parents to voluntarily ask for their children to be vaccinated. These super communicators appear in various social environments, but what makes them super communicators? According to today's recommended book, Supercommunicators: How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection by Charles Duhigg, there is a common characteristic. If you're interested, the link is in the description along with some recommended videos you should watch from this channel. I've been your host, Lye Yosh, and this has been Life Study Library.